The well-known story of the Dambusters raid by the Royal Air Force in May 1943 has some significance for me. When I was posted to Germany, the movie was shown at the Canadian Army Theatre every year. That's because one of the dams destroyed was on the Mona Z, just 10 kilometers from Zost, where I lived and worked. Britain knew that they had to reduce the German production of armaments. A major industrial center was the Ruhr Valley. The factories in the valley used enormous amounts of electricity, and much of this came from the hydroelectric dams on the Mona Z and the Eder See. Attacking these targets with conventional bombing was impractical. Torpedo nets used to protect the dams precluded conventional underwater weapons. The successful concept came from the mind of Barnes Wallis, the assistant chief designer at Vickers Aircraft. He determined that a bomb, rotating backwards, would skip across the surface of the water before hitting the dam wall. Similarly to golf balls, the backspin would stabilize the bomb in its flight and cause it to bounce on the water like a skipping stone. At the dam, when it submerged, it would roll down the side of the dam until the bomb exploded at a pre-selected depth. Air Vice Marshal Harris, the commander of Bomber Command, seen here observing this debriefing, did not want airplanes taken away from his bombing raids, but Barnes Wallis was able to go around him to Churchill to get permission for the technique. The pilot had to fly the airplane at 60 feet above the surface of the reservoir. The height of the aircraft was critical. It was indicated to the pilot using spotlights whose beams overlapped at the correct height. The correct distance from the dam was established using a simple sighting device. The motto, "After Me the Deluge," was an appropriate motto for 617 Squadron, newly created specifically for this mission. It absorbed some of the best airmen available. 133 men went out on this mission, 53 were killed, 3 were taken prisoner. There were 86 British, 29 Canadians, 15 Australians, 2 New Zealanders, and 1 American. The mission used 19 specially modified Lancaster bombers. 3 turned back due to flak damage or other equipment failures. 8 were lost. Wing Commander Guy Gibson commanded the squadron at 24 years of age. Incredible to me. At his age, I was a lieutenant, still very wet behind the ears. The attack was planned against 3 dams, the Mona and the Eder, shown here, and the Sorpe. The first 2 waves took different routes, arriving at the Dutch coastline at the same time. A third wave followed up, to attack dams that hadn't been destroyed by the first 2 waves. Five aircraft reached the Mona Dam. It was breached from 2 bombs that hit the target. 3 aircraft reached the Ader Dam. It was breached by one of the 2 bombs that hit the target. The Sorpe Dam was not breached. The damage downstream was immense. As the water rushed down the Ruhr Valley, 600 German civilians and 1,000 Russian slave laborers were killed. Factories 70 kilometers downstream from the Mondsee, like this one, manufacturing German tanks, were flooded. As part of my responsibilities in Germany, I managed a maintenance contract with this British base workshop in these buildings on behalf of the Canadian Mechanized Brigade Group in Germany. There was a marker in the workshop showing the level that the water had reached. One of the main pieces of equipment overhauled were these Centurion tanks. The mission was celebrated in the British newspapers. It was a morale booster for the country during a dark period. The surviving airmen were honored by King George. Wing Commander Gibson received the Victoria Cross, the highest British award for bravery. He died in a later raid in a mosquito in 1944. 33 other aircrew received decorations. There are memorials in several locations, the main one in Lincolnshire, England. These 2 veterans from the raid returned for one of the remembrance ceremonies. In Holland, at one of the crash sites, family of the crew gathered to unveil a memorial. Other crash sites in Germany and Holland are unofficial and were put up and are maintained by independent groups or individuals. The Bomber Command Museum in Alberta, Canada, recognizes the Canadian involvement with this raid, since 30 of the 133 airmen involved were from the Royal Canadian Air Force, including 1 American. These are the 15 Canadian survivors from the raid. The raid on the dams was only part of what Bomber Command contributed, at great cost. Of the 120,000 who served, 55,573 were killed, including 10,673 Canadians. It is gratifying to know that the contribution and sacrifice of these young men is still recognized.